What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Toppins, the show, bringing you all the action from the Premier League and SerieA, England and Italy. I'm your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Dom, it is your your penultimate show before becoming a married man.
Yes. Wait, we're not gonna do one next week?
Penultimate is like the one before the last.
Oh yeah, because ultimate is you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Sorry, you're a math guy. That's
fine. Yeah. English was never my strong suit. You know, it's kind of ironic. I do a podcast, right?
I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to master the English language to do a podcast, brother. Because I'll be honest, neither of us should be doing that. If that's the case,
listen to Theo Vaughn enough times, it's just
makes me slap a fat kid at Kmart. I know that.
I was gonna say, I think it's you know how like Lil Wayne, he's got that iconic like lighter flick before
he. Bic, yeah. My name ain't Bic, but I carry that flame.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like Wheezy F baby, and the F is for fantastic. Whatever F word you want to use, minus a couple, But me with the podcast, it's a nice cold one,
Yeah, respect. I respect what you're doing. For YouTube, that's not a cold one. That's a seltzer.
It's a cold soda, craft soda,
Yeah, craft soda. Craft soda. Drinking craft sodas with the boys. We had a pretty interesting weekend that we highlighted because we had both 1 and 2 position in the tables playing each other this weekend in England and Italy. City and Liverpool played, as well as Inter Juventus. Both games were draws ultimately, which doesn't give us the full drama maybe that we want in terms of actual result that moves one team down and kind of becomes a little bit more of a statement rather than just everyone kind of shakes hands and waits till the spring till we meet again. We'll start with England and we'll start with Liverpool. City had won every game at home in 2023 coming into this fixture. This is the first time that they've failed to collect all 3 points from a home Premier League game this calendar year. I guess not surprising that Liverpool. I should actually say a little surprising Liverpool because they've typically not gone away to City and gotten good results. And I would say a draw is a positive result to a team like Manchester City. And I thought it was a great game. And I think for me, these two teams have always played great games, and that's not always been like great give and go action. But I thought there was lots of end to end stuff, plenty of drama. Not as much drama as we're used to. Although the final whistle, we got Darwin Núñez going at it with Pep Guardiola, which was fantastic. But I think what's interesting is the next time these two teams meet, barring any other injuries, right, which could totally happen in that time frame, but Liverpool lose Alisson in this game to injury. He's going to be out for a few weeks, it seems, with a hamstring problem. But, they didn't have Konate for this. They didn't have a whole host of players or guys that were just working their way back. City have obviously not have Kevin De Bruyne. They've had John Stones for this game. There's a lot of absences here. I don't think Haaland was at, like, his absolute best in terms of, like, health. So I wonder if, when we kind of wrap back again in the springtime when this game could have even more tension and drama around it, as it just pretty much always does whenever these two play. I'm looking forward to that. But I thought this game was interesting. For me as a Liverpool fan, I think it's been the same way that it felt about them all season, which is that I think for this team to be genuine title contenders, I think they have to be better defensively. They were okay in this game, but I still think through the course of a season, there's already been a few results that I think because of the defensive frailty of this team at times have gone the other way. I'm thinking that Brighton game especially should have been a better result. But I thought it was a fun game. I think it's everything that we've kind of expected from these two teams. I don't know that it's like it wasn't a classic for me, but Trent's goal was fantastic. And yeah, I some very uncharacteristic Alisson mistakes capped off with, again, that injury right near the end of the game, which is just sucks because anytime not having him, not fun.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool kind of when they end up playing City, they kind of have to play a little bit differently than they're used to, right? And I think you can maybe attest to this a little bit more because you watch them a little more regularly than me. But when you play City, you kind of have to be comfortable with sitting back. City loves to hold possession, which is what Liverpool likes to do in most games, especially when they're playing against weaker opposition. And this is kind of the Liverpool side where against City, you're going to have to sit back, accept, the fact that City's going to hold the majority of the possession, and then you got to catch them on the counter. When I'm looking at the numbers here, City had double the shots Liverpool had, almost double the shots on target, almost 3 times the XG that Liverpool had.
Well, I think it was like 1.36 to like 0.56, right? Yeah.
Not exactly 3 times, but it's getting there.
Right.
But you know what I'm like. But the thing is, Liverpool has a squad that is comfortable with playing that way, though. The front 3 is dangerous, especially in the counter. You have a lot of pace. The midfield is creative, but they can also find a pass and they can play a long pass if needed. That's what Trent does. But the goals didn't come from up front. They came from kind of, what is this? Am I guessing like a underlapping run? I didn't get to watch the game or the highlights.
It was like a layup, like Mo Salah got at the edge of the box and like laid it to the Trent was making just a great run into the 18, takes a touch and just slides the bottom corner. I think what you said is interesting too, and Trent actually talked about this after the game. And he said in the first half, Liverpool were playing a little scared. He said like they were playing off them a little bit, and he said you like kind of had to remind yourself like, and this happens with a team like City. It happened when Liverpool were having their 2 really great seasons, especially in the Premier League, right? Where like teams psychologically play you a little different when you're that good. You just do. You give. It's hard. It's a hard thing to work out, and like people complain about all the time, like, oh, people just let City walk over them, and there's some truth to that though, because you are so aware of the danger that they pose that you do mentally just you prepare a little differently and play a little differently and maybe not as aggressive, knowing you could be punished so severely if you are, right? Like, but you have to play. It's the hard thing is you have to play that way to beat teams like that, to beat teams like City, Liverpool, even Arsenal now, right? Like you just have to be willing to take those risks.
Yeah.
Teams get risk averse, which actually ends up putting you in more danger, right? Because now you're just giving them so much time on the clock to find the answers, and they're going to find the answers at some point for the most part. So that's the struggle.
It's interesting. And I mean, what's even scarier is like De Bruyne is still out.
Yeah. I mean, they've won a title with De Bruyne playing like very few games in the Premier League. Like he's missed almost a full season of injury and they still won a title. Like it's not unusual for them.
It's like a weird setup that like Pep has too, this like 3-2-4-1 kind of deal.
People have been really into this. People have been really into it's like becomes like a 2-3-5 in games. Liverpool have been doing it too, or like the 4-box, like you'll have like a whole square of possession. That's been an interesting like adaptation over the last like 2 seasons. A lot of teams playing that way. That's why Liverpool kind of had the midfield makeover that they had over the summer. Part of that's also because Henderson and Fabinho left, but Fabinho being gone, I think, is like the real X factor for this team as well. We don't have that destroyer. We don't have that guy in the mid. Like we just don't have that physical presence. McAllister is a good midfielder. That's not his best role, and I think you saw that a few times in this game too, where he gets kind of caught in like weird positions, weird distances, and I just don't think it's his most optimal thing. They were linked with Andre from Fluminense over the summer. Seems like they might try and get back in January with him. Who knows? But I think if like the big takeaways from this game, City are still very much title contenders to me, and nothing about this result really makes me feel any differently about them, I would say. However, I would be slightly concerned that they've kind of had a habit of letting teams hang around in games, and it hasn't really punished them. But you saw it against Chelsea, and now you've seen it against Liverpool too. I thought they, in both games, like City had probably done enough to win, but did let an opposition team kind of hang around a bit. You saw it against Wolves too, when they lost. Like they have made a habit of that this season of not really not being as efficient and as clinical as we know they can be.
No,
that would be my one concern with it. Is that? But
you bring up that game against Wolves. I mean, 2 of their next 3 games they have to play Villa away, and Villa is just incredible at home, and then they play Luton away, and even though they may not be getting the results, they're not a slouch when they're playing at
Luton
home
away,
either.
I mean, ask Liverpool.
Exactly.
Liverpool should have won that game too. That's another game I think at the end of the season it could really be kicking ourselves. They have Spurs this weekend, who are just a perennial thorn in their side. Like Spurs have just always given them problems. We'll talk about Spurs a little bit and the shape that they're in. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case this time around, but you never know. But yeah, that Aston Villa game you highlighted, I'm really looking forward to because that is going to be
very interesting.
For Liverpool, I just think, like I said, defensively, I still have my concerns. I think they're going to need to address like that midfield component. They're going to need a true number 6 for me to really believe this team can win a title this year. I don't think it's in the cards. But if Darwin Núñez, we get good volatility from him, maybe that could be the thing. I think there are X factors within this Liverpool team that do make me feel good about their future, both short term and long term, that I think could really, and the fact that this is a wholly new reworked midfield, and we've had weird suspensions throughout the season. I do think this is a midfield that's still kind of figuring it out, and I think second half of the season maybe there's something there. But I like that this result, as a Liverpool fan, kind of keeps everything within shooting range still, and it doesn't feel like anything's gotten away from you.
I think the most interesting thing is with City, if you even take a look at their bench, number 1, Pep didn't make a single sub. So he's expecting the starting 11 to play all 90 minutes. And that's basically because they really don't have anybody proven on the bench. And most of the proven players are defenders or Calvin Phillips, nothing that can really get the attack going. So it's almost like you kind of have to put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to this front 4 of Foden, Alvarez, Silva, Doku, and Haaland, which is, it's not bad, but it's a very good front 4. But, when you play certain teams, especially those teams, those mid-table teams, those lower-table teams, or we mentioned Aston Villa, these teams that really get at you, and they can get out on the break, they can press you, they can really make your players work. Will fatigue become an issue later on? Because it doesn't seem like they have guys that can really replace certain players, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, we've talked so much about City's depth, and people just pull out that card all the time. Even going back to last year, their depth was not that crazy. They have had great depth in recent history, no doubt about it. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you look at their bench; they had 2 keepers on the bench for this game. Number 1, Scott Carson, who is just
he's the goalkeeper's coach. Yeah,
he's not really a meaningful player. But yeah, John Stones, who's not really fit enough to play, he just made the bench. Yeah, Pep said, he's still a week or 2 away from actually playing again. You have Gvardiol, a defender, Calvin Phillips, Rico Lewis, and then Gomez and Bob. Those are not
no.
And I mean, it's not even just because you have De Bruyne, Kovacic, and Núñez out, and Zach Steffen as well. But that's not really a meaningful miss. The bench is not as crazy as people make it out to be sometimes to say. That's all. But
I mean, the majority of your midfield depth is all hurt, and
right.
and you have to have Bernardo drop a little bit deeper than he's used to.
Bernardo,
right?
One of the most versatile players in my lifetime, can just do everything. It must really suck to have him.
But you have to tell Alvarez to drop back now, and he's playing more of a midfield role. Foden probably has to be a little more defensive minded than he's used to. And
they've talked a lot about Alvarez kind of taking over De Bruyne's role. They actually see him as a De Bruyne successor rather than.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Curious to see how that develops. Well, I mean, you think about where De Bruyne plays now too, though. He was playing more advanced, and think of where his most dangerous position is usually just on the edge of the 18 or in that half space there, whipping crosses in, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Listen.
Yeah, the number 10, a false 9, secondary striker type deal.
I think they see him as more of a 10 than maybe a 9 overall. But we'll be back to obviously talk about this game when we're back in the spring. Let's move to Spurs and Aston Villa. really exciting game. Could have been like, no joke, could have been like 2-2 very easily at halftime. Could have been 3-3 at halftime. Just a crazy game. Spurs had a lot of good chances and are probably unlucky in the end to not get a better result out of this game. But Aston Villa continue their good streak and find themselves in 4th place now. They get a win over Spurs. I think the hard thing for Spurs is not only have you lost, and it feels like some of the momentum you had from early in the season is starting to wear thin. You have another injury in this game. Rodrigo Bentancur gets hurt. He's an ankle ligament issue. He's going to be out till February. This was a guy, too, that was just working his way back from injury. That, like, sucks, because like when he plays, he's a good part of that midfield, and we talked a lot and sung a lot of praise when he transferred there from Juventus because he really hadn't shown a lot of that end product there. But yeah, that's a big miss for them, and it's on top of the fact that they have so many other injuries to contend with. You don't really want to be like compounding that stuff at this stage. Udogie, I think, had like a small injury. They like it doesn't. I don't know if he's going to miss time, but it just feels like there's a lot working against Spurs at the moment, and it just feels too like they're just getting very unlucky at this point in time with injuries.
I mean, they're playing Emerson Royale at center back. That's not ideal.
That's
right?
A choice. That is a choice for sure. Not a choice I think they would have liked to have made, but sometimes choices are made at gunpoint, and that is a reality of life.
What I think is really interesting about Aston Villa, we talk about team depth. You look at the starting lineup, and it's like, all right, this is a very strong midfield, right? Even Matty Cash, who's normally a right back, he's playing right mid, but he can do that. They bring Leon Bailey off the bench, Yuri Tielemans off the bench, and Ramsey off the bench. And Ramsey came in the 90th minute. So, like, you're talking about, 5, 6 guys, 7 guys, if you're talking about the starting 4, McGinn, Luiz, Kamara, and Cash. Like, that's really, really strong for Villa. And, I mean, again, they're playing a team like Spurs. Villa's going to sit back. They're going to beat them on the counter. They have a team that can do that. When you have somebody like Diaby up front where you can play a ball in, over the top, out wide, have him run it down. It's and still, create the amount and the volume of chances that they have. Like it's the signs of a very quality team. I mean, did Spurs get unlucky with a disallowed goal? Yes, but I mean, you talk about
a little more clinical. They win this game.
You talk about City keeping teams kind of in and around, striking distance. With this win, Villa draws even with Liverpool on points, and they're only 1 point behind City, 2 behind Arsenal. Like, they change their crest, and next thing you know, they're just going crazy, man. I saw a tweet. They're saying Villa stole Chelsea's crest, and next thing you know, they stole their form as well.
It is definitely reminiscent of Chelsea for sure. Yeah, Villa have been good this year. We talked a few weeks ago about like kind of what their potential is, and we felt like they could maybe break into that top 4. It's hard to say, and that's where they are at the moment. It's weird because last year they were kind of a hard team to talk about because they were so obviously just running really hot. They were so obviously, if you looked at all the numbers, like they were clearly just overperforming. And in some ways they're still kind of overperforming this year, but I like there is some part of you that really feels like this team is just very well coached, very well organized. Now defensively, concerns. That would be my area, like long term, like for this season, I would be worried about it. And I think, like people are gonna talk about them in the title race. I don't know that that's a reality. But they're a really hard team to play, especially if you're going away to Villa. Like that's going to be a hard game for a lot of teams, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I love Ollie Watkins. Like he was a player that I've always really liked watching play, and so it's nice to see him over the last 7-8 months start to actually feels like he's fulfilling some of that potential, some of that belief when he came up from the championship, and I'm excited to watch them for the rest of the season.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but based off of the way that they set up, when they get the ball offensively, do they kind of shift into like a 3-5-2 almost?
Yeah, like a lot of times, like Pau Torres especially is like very good on the ball. Like they're happy like to have him like control and like progress the ball into the midfield. Definitely see Digne like do that as well. They had Cash playing like much more forward than he typically does. Like normally he's a pretty adventurous fullback. They had him playing like really advanced role against Spurs, like really pressing up high and mixed success, I would say. Yeah, they're a team too. Like I think Emery's like always been a guy that I think as well has been willing to like he plays a very organized type of like play. And I think that's where like it can get challenging with him at like some of the higher levels is like he demands, I think, a lot of like attention to his instruction. And I think sometimes that can, depending on the ego, depending on the situation, can kind of become a bit of a mixed bag. But yeah, it's definitely working at Villa at the moment. And this just feels like his level. This feels like the kind of team and situation that's right for him.
That also kind of makes sense then why, like, when he goes out in the transfer market, he always tends to kind of target sort of the same guys or guys he previously coached because, like, bringing over Pau Torres, right? Like, you need someone to kind of bolster that back line and somebody who knows exactly what you want and kind of knows and is comfortable with the system because he's played for you before, and can take on that kind of responsibility in a team. It pays a lot, in the long run. When, you take over a team, you're not comfortable with a lot of the guys. You're still kind of learning everybody, and you're trying to build something, and you add these few pieces of guys who can, kind of everybody else can kind of build off of and whatnot. And I think that pays off, and we're seeing it now in their form, especially at home. I mean, they're incredible at home.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that City game like you highlighted earlier in the show. Final thing in England. Goal of the season already. Garnacho. It feels almost disservice to call it a bike, but truly, like one of the best goals I've ever seen. I wasn't watching the game live. I was doing like other stuff and I saw like someone tweet about it, and I thought it was like, Manchester United always get like the extra anytime they do anything. It's either the worst thing that's ever happened. It's such hot and cold with them. So I saw people like, this is goal of the season contender from Garnacho, and I was like, calm the fuck. And then I watched. I was like, I saw the ball get played in, and I was like, oh shit! Like it was you knew before knowing that it was a goal. Like when it leaves, I forget who plays the assist, but I think it was Dallo.
Yes.
I believe it. I think it was Dallo. Yeah. As soon as it leaves his foot, and you see like where Garnacho's like, oh shit, like that's where this is going. Unbelievable. Like, he has to make up so much ground backwards to get onto the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the purest, I think, cleanest, most well done form of a bicycle kick I've ever seen. Perfect connection, and goes opposite direction, opposite corner. Like it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I this was a game I was able to watch at work before everybody was like, "Oh, you got to put football on." Why? I don't want to watch soccer, but I turned it on, literally like a minute beforehand, and I look up, and next thing I see is an overhead kick happening, and I'm just like, "Whoa! Do we have a Starboy in the making?"
Scored again today. I don't know. Starboy is I hate that word. Because people throw it around a lot, and the reason I hate that word actually, total sidebar, people really threw it around a lot with Jadon Sancho, and like all the time they're like, well, this Starboy, like it was like all over Twitter was about Jadon Sancho, Starboy, and I think it's just kind of soured the word for me. It's like, well, I always associate with him, and he's had a disappointing time at United. He like went to United in the first. I was like, that sucks. Now I'm upset.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's a word that I just don't.
Garnacho's doing it in the Prem. He's not doing it in the Bundesliga.
Okay, well, he's sort of doing it in the Premier League.
He's got the hair. He's got the looks. He's got a taste for flair.
Christian Benteke also scored one of the best goals I've ever seen for Liverpool, and like that doesn't mean it. Like it just, you
Divock
give and you
Origi?
go. I don't. Divock Origi just scored some of the most important goals of my life. I don't know that a Divock Origi goal I've ever seen. It was like, actually, no. He scored a great one against Southampton in the League Cup in Klopp's first season, which was truly unbelievable. The tightest ankle finish I've ever seen. Just laced it into the roof of the net somehow. So he has scored some good ones. Origi's goals were always just true chaos. Like, just I can't believe, like, he's unleashing like one of the Infinity Stones. Like he just introducing something to the world that shouldn't be.
What's crazy to me about that first half of this game is that, like, Everton was the better team. And that's the sad thing about this game when I was watching is, like, yes, United had all the momentum very early on after that, but at the beginning of the game. But as the first half kind of settled in, Everton had chance after chance after chance after chance, and they just could not get anything quality towards the net. I mean, Everton had 24 total shots, only 6 on target. I mean, like, there's got to be questions raised about, the finishing quality. Like, Calvert-Lewin had a couple headers that were like right in front of the net where he towered over whoever was trying to go up against him for the ball. And, he's just heading them over the net. Or there's that one where Doucouré makes this great run and there was some great passing play and he kind of takes a large touch and Idrissa Gueye comes onto it and he just hits it so far wide. I saw the fans' reactions, like they're doing the whole nine, and
which is weird. It's weird that is like a offensive sign. The like these
like yours, like
it's so bizarre to me. Like when that's like because here that is only a peace sign. Like it's like there's
nobody in the U.S. knows.
Yeah, there's like no situation where that's ever like offensive, but it is. It's a strange world to live in. But
yeah, apologies to our English and UK viewers and listeners.
They'll get over it. I think it's offensive throughout Europe. I think
it's weird. It's like saying "suck your mom." Like it's just that could be a little disrespectful here in the U.S., but people will look at you like,
that
what are you
would be a little disrespectful. I don't think that we get to put a qualifier on it. I think.
Excuse me, we're 27 minutes in. That's okay. YouTube's not gonna get us for that one.
Yeah, that's how that works. You're right. Statute of limitations or something. I don't know. Let's move to Italy. Let's actually move to Italy. No, Lazio lose to bottom Salernitana in a awful game.
Yikes.
Maurizio Sarri, no idea what's going on here because you would expect that there'd be some pressure on him. But I was like doing some reading and just seeing like what the news was about Lazio. And apparently they're blaming the players. This is Lotito allegedly saying this too, blaming the players, saying that heads will roll. He's going away for on a business thing, but he put someone in charge and said that if this doesn't improve, we'll all go down with this ship. Like, I don't care. Like, it's not just the manager. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means Sarri's going to stay in the job. Bizarrely enough, they wrapped up Champions League qualification. They're going to be through to the round of 16. So they're having this weird season where it's like everything's going not disastrous in the league, but clearly not well. Yeah, they're having a good Champions League campaign, are going to be in the round of 16, which comes with some benefits. Maybe they get a fortunate draw. And it's such a bizarre kind of knife edge which this Lazio season is placed on right now.
It's like we've spoken about other teams in various European competitions, right, where they just don't have the facilities to focus on both, right? And it seems to me like they're focusing very heavily on the Champions League right now.
But they're playing the same guy. Like, it's not like they're like
their
performances are so much better in the Champions League than what I've seen in the league. That's what's bizarre about it. It's not like
they like to play in the midweek. I guess they don't like playing on the weekend. I don't know. It's very obviously alarm bells are going off when Monza and Frosinone are above you, and you're a team that finished in the top 4 last year, and teams like Torino, Lecce, Sassuolo, Genoa are all within 3 points or less of you in the table. Like, you can drop down to 16th, 15th in the next match day if you don't get this shit straight. But I really don't know what's going on with them, man. It's just it's very, very confusing to me, man. It's just, I don't know. Really don't know. I mean, Lotito backed Sarri after their win today, so
that's what I'm saying. Like, he seems to believe that Sarri's going to stay, but you look at the league form and you look at a result like that and you think, I don't know, brother. I don't know. I was positive about Lazio coming into the season. I was positive about Sarri. I was positive about Lazio because of Sarri. Right? Like, it just felt like even though they had some squad turnover, I think he's a good manager. I think he's a floor raiser to me. And man, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe Sarri can smoke more cigarettes when they're playing in Europe than when they're playing in Italy.
Someone asked him about potentially coaching the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, and his first question was if they are allowed to smoke there.
I think you mentioned that a week or two ago, and they told him yes or something like that. It was very
haters on the sideline, which I respect. I remember when he was in England, he couldn't smoke, so he would have said chew on cigarettes, which was just a bizarre choice. I will say,
just chew nicotine gum or something.
Well,
man.
I know some old timey Italian guys that like Italian farmers that would chew on cigars. They would.
I've heard people do that. Yeah,
they chew on the cigar, and they would have these the plastic Dixie cups, and they would spit out it's disgusting, and they used to be around the house and. Just really brutal stuff. Just do a Zin pack.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Papa Zinni, man. Let's
just get stimmed on some Zin, the sweets. Come on, let's not get carried away here. Speaking of lovable, affable, middle-aged Italian coaches, Walter Mazzarri.
Nice one.
Gets his first win as Napoli coach in his first game as Napoli coach. There are two ways to look at this. One is that Atalanta are deeply unserious, and Gasparini should really look at himself in the mirror. The other is that Mazzarri is going to lead Napoli to a late season title push, and this is just the first. I mean, those are the only two things I think you can take away from this game.
I think it's the former.
I just think for me, I just wanted to talk about it because we were mentioning that Mazzarri's going to be a coach, and it just felt a strange decision, and it felt odd, and a weird kind of retread. And he has not been a manager that's had a lot of success over the last few years, and his time at Torino was pretty mixed, all things considered, and I don't know, maybe just a different voice. I didn't like the Rudy Garcia hiring from the start, and I think maybe you're just hoping that it's still a talented team. This is mostly the team from last season that ran away with the SerieA title. So there's clearly talent here. I don't know that Mazzarri is actually the guy to block it off, but he's already got 3 more points that I expected him to at this stage. So maybe I should just put some faith in him. I don't know.
I think what's interesting about this is just the matchup between the two teams and the tactics that both managers come out. I do think that this 4-3-3, the Napoli style of play that Spalletti had them run, and now Mazzarri is kind of trying to emulate it, and I think it matches up very well against Gasparini's 3 backs and wing backs and things like that. I mean, when you have a lone 10 in Pasalic and Lobotka can basically just worry about him, and then Zielinski and Gisa can kind of neutralize the other 2 center midfielders. It creates some gaps in the offense in the defense, and Politano and Kvaratskhelia are able to get out wide and really stretch them out and open up these little gaps here and there for Raspadori to work, for Zielinski to work. And I mean, Elmas and Osimhen, when they came off the bench, allows them to work as well. That's dangerous too. And I just think that this is a game that was won just by tactics. The other team is just better suited to handle this. I mean, Gasparini's kind of living off, his, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but his unique tactics that have brought Atalanta success over the years. I mean, it's gotten him into the Champions League, made him somewhat successful within the group stages of the Champions League. But it's only a matter of time before the top teams at least figure out how to combat that. A lot of teams are playing 4-3-3s nowadays, and I just don't think that this 3-4-1-2 or however they end up playing it just doesn't work out well against them.
Yeah, there's a lot to chew on, I think, for Napoli this season. We'll carry on our Napoli conversation into Champions League roundup, because we only have one more game week in the Champions League group stages, and we've had quite a few teams lock in, at least progressing to the round of 16. Some teams going in as already we know that they're going to win their group, but there's still quite a bit, I think, left to be decided. I think going into the year, we looked at the group of death, right? Milan, Dortmund, Newcastle, PSG, and knew that was probably going to be one that went down to the last day, and it is. Everyone is still alive in that group. Dortmund already are through to the round of 16. I mean, it's not that crazy. All they need is to win and PSG to lose. Like, it's not like they don't have like a ton of like algebra to get in. Like they it's not in their control.
It's still such a tall task, man. It's
okay. I wouldn't say it's a tall task. It's not that crazy. It's Newcastle, brother. They have 2 players.
Dortmund's got to. I mean, Dortmund's been playing very well, but like they got to beat PSG. They
already.
But Dortmund's already sealed their ticket. Wouldn't you think that they're kind of
they want top spot? You don't think it matters to go?
Yeah, no. You know what? That is a good point. Yeah,
you don't think it matters?
Yeah,
you don't think that's the difference between playing Lazio or Real Madrid?
It does.
It's
right.
No disrespect to Lazio, of course, but I think everyone's making a choice there. I don't think it's that crazy. So yeah, Milan needs to win, and a PSG loss. There's lots of like win conditions in that group. So right now Dortmund are through. They win the group with a win or a draw. PSG can top the group with a win, and they progress with either a draw and a Milan win, or simply a Newcastle-Milan draw. Newcastle progress with a win and a PSG loss, or a draw, and Milan only progress with a win and a PSG loss. Not that. I think that's not surprising to me at this stage, that it's still like so much to be decided, just when you consider the strength of the group. Manchester United are also going to need some help, hilariously.
Yikes.
A game that they weren't even sure was necessarily going to be able to be played against Galatasaray today. It was like awful weather conditions, weird like snow, hail situation. Up multiple times in this game, end up drawing 3-3. They now are going to need some help on the final day to advance. So United need a win and a Copenhagen Galatasaray draw to progress, which is like, and both of those teams are not going to be playing for a draw. I can tell you that, because Copenhagen progressed with a win, and Galatasaray progressed with a win. Copenhagen also progressed with a win. They also progressed with a draw. If United draw or loses, Bayern have won the group. It's sealed, dusted, but I would expect them to still probably make it tough on United to, there's a lot that Manchester United have to do, and they shouldn't be in this position, because all things considered, they should be wrapped up. They've had a weird defensive issue in the Champions League.
Yeah, I feel like United's one of those teams where like they have that aura about them that you don't want to just draw to them, let alone like lose. So like, especially a team like Bayern's going to be like, yeah, let's go out and just shell them.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because they've scored a lot of goals in the Champions League. Like, they've been very good offensively. It's just defensively. They've conceded 14 goals in the Champions League so far this year. The only other team that's in that kind of realm is Royal Antwerp, who've conceded 15, and Celtic have also conceded 14. Like, that's the problem here, is that defensively this team is just leaking in the Champions League. It's been I think, a frustrating watch if you're a United fan. Inter and Real Sociedad fight it out on the last match day for top spot. That'll be fun. I think it's always fun when we have two teams already qualified. It's essentially just to get through and win your group. Inter a big comeback today to ensure that, that last day just becomes a straight up playoff, right? Like, they force a draw after being down 3-0, so a lot to look forward to there. Arsenal advance to the round of 16. Good for them. This is like their return to the Champions League, and
Kai Havertz in some good form.
yeah, Kai Havertz season turns out. He gets the big winner we didn't talk about in the Premier League, but he gets the winner against Brentford to take Arsenal top of the table in the Premier League, and now through to the round of 16. I tell you, this Arsenal team, we'll talk about this once we get the draws and everything. Maybe Champions League dark horse. I don't know. I get some shades there from them. But yeah, never forget that Newcastle were like the 7th favorite to win the Champions League coming in this year. They might not even make it out of their group. Like that's, I gotta say, Dom, I really gotta say, I really need Milan to win. I can't live.
So do I, man.
We're in this together. I just want you to know that. I want you to know that we're on that ride together. Okay, like I can't.
Never thought I'd see the day.
Oh, I have no real like ill feelings towards Milan. There's. I'm just saying, like, I can't deal with Newcastle being in the Champions League like knockouts. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. I don't want to hear about it. That's really. I'm truly the world's biggest hater in this moment.
Sure. Be like that. Yo, crazy in that group. Sevilla.
Yeah.
It's looking like, the Europa League giants won't even potentially have a chance to even drop into the Europa League this year.
I got to say, as a team, as a fan of a team who is in the Europa League, and I wouldn't mind seeing Liverpool, really prioritize the Europa League at some point this season, and maybe like it's like winning a European trophy of any kind is a big deal to me personally. I would not mind if Sevilla were they are a true. Listen, Spanish teams in general have just not been a good time for me. Okay, like I've just typically not had a good time against Spanish opposition. There've been a few outliers. The biggest, obviously, being Barcelona, but. I would like to avoid Sevilla. We have some really bad history with them, and I seeing them be buried would be kind of nice. That is true. Like I showed up to my biggest hater's funeral energy if Sevilla if Sevilla are out of it. Napoli also they lost today to Real Madrid. Real Madrid, of course, have won their group. Napoli progressed with a win, a draw, or a 1-goal loss. Braga progressed with a win by 2+ goals. So they play each other. That essentially Napoli just have to not lose that game. Pretty much is really. But even then, they can lose by 1, and it's okay. But really, they're gonna play to win. And Atletico Lazio play on the last day as well, and that'll decide who is the top spot in that. Atletico a little bit of resurgence this year. Interesting. I don't know who I like for the Champions League. Obviously, City are going to be big favorites. Real Madrid. Maybe recapture a little bit of that. Jude Bellingham comes in and first year, big statement. He's like already had like so many like highlight reel moments, like big crucial goals. I don't know. Give
us a little Barcelona.
Barcelona is actually an interesting team because I think they've kind of they sneak under people's radar. I think a little bit under Xavi especially. I don't know that people are as plugged in.
We need a little more Roy Hudson classics.
I told you about the time I sat my wife down and made her watch. Like it was like I was showing her. Like some people do this. Will like show like their old like a high school football like highlight reel. Like there's like people that are like look at my high school
check
football.
Check it out.
I could have gone to a Big Ten school. Like it was like I was doing that, but for Ray Hudson like clips. Like I was trying to find like, and they're out there. But yeah, I was trying to find the one where he's like, quick down like a jungle cat. Like that's one of my favorites. He's truly on some other shit. It's unbelievable to listen to.
Come up right now with your own original Roy Hudson style, like just one-liner.
I mean, It's
Give me
I'm
your
thinking
best.
about him so much that I'm probably gonna end up using one that I've heard. One of my other favorites from him is like trying to nail jelly to the wall. Like that's just
He's built like an army tank covered in cocoa butter. Strong but slippery.
he's truly like a gift to the world. One of my favorites for sure. Let's look ahead to the weekend at what we've got for you lined up. In England, we've got let's see, on Saturday we've got Newcastle versus Manchester United. Very interesting. Very nice, very nice. Chelsea Brighton, the Graham Potter derby on Sunday morning. We got Man City versus Tottenham, of course. That's kind of always a good fixture. Napoli and Inter on Sunday as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one too. That's kind of it though, actually. As far as like big highlight reel ones, not much else really doing it. Sassuolo Roma, if you're into that, Sassuolo are in a lot of exciting games. I could see that seeing kind of fun. They had a crazy game over the weekend that we didn't get to, but yeah, not a lot there, I would say. Dom, anything to say before we get out of here?
Rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you guys for tuning in. We always appreciate the support. Go Milan. Pioli out. It is what it is, man. Go Birds.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the start of like the holiday like fixture list too. Like we have like midweek Premier League games next week, and got just a lot just a lot of games coming in quick succession. So keep it locked in because we'll be covering those and keeping you updated. Who knows? Maybe a live stream or something for something. I don't know. We'll figure. Maybe we'll think about something. I don't know. Maybe we'll have that coming down the pipeline. But enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy the games middle of next week. Champions League return the week after. We got FA Cup stuff coming. I mean, it's all over the place. League Cups. I mean, come on.
It's getting spicy now, right? Like we said.
This is where it turns and things become very serious. So we'll be back next week to wrap that all up and to send Dom off on his journey to be a man and married. So preemptive congratulations. We'll talk to you next time.
Writing my wedding vows.
That's great.